Heyo, Omni Dogs and Omni Kittens. It's Omni Dog here. And I have been asked by several viewers to put out more content because at this particular time in the world, things are a little unsettled. And I get it. Um, People like to watch things on YouTube and it takes their mind off of things. And making videos helps me take my mind off of things too. So this actually works both ways. I can create content and it eases my mind, and you can watch it and it'll ease your mind. A little bit of an escape from reality for right now. So since this thing is global, I can address everyone out there when I say that very little is in our control, and I understand how unsettling everything is. I'm not immune to it. I get it. But there is one thing we can all do that will make things better in general. It may sound sappy to you, but it actually will work because it helped me yesterday when someone did it for me. Be kind to the people you encounter. I was on the road yesterday in traffic, and I came upon a situation where the person could have been selfish and was unselfish and let me pass and a bunch of other people pass and just did the unselfish thing. It made me feel a lot better. It made me realize we're all in this together. And I thought, that's great. I will now do something nice for somebody else. Now, of course, I quarantine myself all the time anyway, so I don't get out that often, but I was I don't know, at the drugstore today, and I let somebody go in front of me that had fewer things than I did in line. So just try and be a little bit nice to the next person you meet, and maybe it'll have a domino effect and they'll be nice to somebody. So that's really the only advice I have besides read comic books or watch this video and then read comic books. Now this is halfway through March 2020. So I've read a bunch of comic books. Not all of them were written this year, as a matter of fact, or released even this year. As a matter of fact, this is going to be a 3-part series so far, and I would say only a couple of them have been released this year. I'm infamous for my backlog, so I've been tackling some of my backlog, and these are just books that I've read this year, and they're my favorites. And I will give you an overview of each one. I've probably already done a video on these books. So that's one thing to keep in mind. If you're looking for things to watch on YouTube, I have over 300 videos on my channel, and I cover a broad range of topics. So feel free to go to my channel, scroll through. I have things reasonably grouped and organized. They actually are organized. So go to my channel, find one of the 300 videos I have. They're not overly long. Pick a topic and watch that and just relax. Everybody keep calm and read comics. So here we go with, so far, these are my favorite books in 2020 that I've read so far. And they're all in print in one form or another. Now this first one I read is out of print in this form, but is still available in trade paperback. And I urge you to read it. It is Essex County by Jeff Lemire. Now, some of you probably, his art's not for everyone. Some of you probably are not a big fan of his art. I did not have a problem with his art in this book because it got the job done, and it got it done nicely. It conveyed emotion. It conveyed a sense of family, a sense of tragedy, a sense of happiness where it could, a sense of joy. It's a very emotional book, and it covers a lot of different topics that end up being interconnected. And yes, hockey is at the center of it. I am not lucky enough to have one of the copies that came with the hockey card, but I understand now why the hockey card is so important. You don't have to like hockey to enjoy this book. I barely understand hockey, and I loved this book. Everybody really needs to read it. It's a series of stories that involve a young boy all the way up to a much older man, and they all interconnect nicely, not hard to follow at all, um, all very poignant, all very human, and all very real, but not in a bummer downer kind of way. It just deals with life and life in general and how these individuals um, handle their lives. And it's very interesting, very fascinating, a real portrait of what it was like to be in Essex County from the very early years in the early 1900s through, it looks like, through the 1990s. And as I said, it's all interconnected, and Jeff Lemire does a wonderful job on this book. So everybody needs to read Essex County. This is one of my favorite. This book is old, by the way. This is just one of my favorite books of 2020 because I just happened to read it this year. Because it was one of Omnicat's recommendations. It's her favorite book, I think, of all time. That's Kristen. So I read it and loved it. My friend Tyler Blunt, also known as T-Bone, has gotten me into reading Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. We'll do a complete 180 from Essex County into Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And volumes 1 through 3 were good. I enjoyed them. They were compelling enough for me to keep reading. But volume 4, now I understand why everybody loves this series so much. This is where things are really interesting. Several storylines connect here that have been separate. Several connect here. Some new storylines pop up. The art is nothing less than 100% perfect. The writing, I feel, even though Kevin Eastman's been doing all the writing, I feel like he really steps it up a couple of notches in this book, and the writing is fantastic. It is so interesting and so compelling and so fun, and I love this book, and I can see why so many people love Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Volume 4 is great. I may not be able to wait for Tyler Blunt to finish tax season so he can read Volume 5. I may need to go ahead and read Volume 5 myself, and maybe Volume 6. This is how compelling Book 4 was. It was remarkably interesting and fun, and I urge everyone out there to pick up and read IDW's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I know it sounds crazy, but it's great. I really loved it. Here is another book that was recommended to me by Kristen, the Omnicat, and I read it and loved it. I think I reviewed it maybe a couple of weeks ago with her, and that is Tilly Walden's On a Sunbeam. This book is, it looks imposing. It looks very thick, but it's a pretty fast read. It covers, let's see if we can see some of the art. The art is a little manga-ish, I guess. I don't read a lot of manga, so I'm just guessing. But it's set into the, what I believe, the far future and set in space, where the galaxy has been pretty much discovered and colonized all the way till the edge of the known universes. And the Sunbeam is the name of the ship that the protagonist, that's told from two different standpoints, the protagonist's present and then her past, and then how they tie in the future. It's a young girl. She's on a ship. When school doesn't work out for her, she is on a ship where they are sent around the galaxy to repair old sites, like maybe old churches that are millennia old, and get them cleaned up, primed, and prepped for contractors to come in and create something new out of them. Apartment buildings, shopping malls, things like that. But she's part of a cleanup crew where they go from job site to job site. And it's also told in the past where she was at this prestigious school where this campus is one of those campuses where the kids go and stay. It's not a day school. So she goes there, she ends up making a friend, and this girl she ends up falling in love with. And this girl has a very interesting family that she falls in love with, a very interesting past, an interesting reason for being there at the school. And it ties into what happens in the future, because the main protagonist, while she's on this ship, scrubbing and cleaning all these various monuments and fixing them, decides that she wants to reunite with her friend, her ex-love interest, her ex-love interest from high school. And the crew members on the ship all agree to it, but they have to go to the edge of the known galaxy, and it's very dangerous. And it is really compelling and amazing and really interesting and fun and imaginative. And I loved On a Sunbeam by Tilly Walden, and I think you will too. Really, really top-notch book. One of the best things I've read so far in 2020. Then we have our last two books for this segment. One of the best things I read, whose is by Vault Comics, Sara and the Royal Stars. I can't remember where I reviewed this. I feel like I reviewed it on Omnibros and maybe with Kristen on OmniCat and OmniDog. This is the only bummer about this is it's volume 1, and this is clearly going to be a 3 or 4 part book, 3 or 4 volumes to this book. So that's my only caveat, is that you're going to go into this and you're going to want more. It's really cool. The Royal Stars, Sara has been selected. She's part of an old family that has gone to war. Her father and uncle are going to war, and she's the main leader in the war. She's very capable, very strong protagonist, but she has been chosen by a star-dwelling entity to find and reignite the royal stars. These are ancient beings of great power. I would say they're almost godlike if they are not gods. And it is the journey she goes on, with beautiful art here, the journey she goes on to try and awaken and reunite these royal stars, they're called. It is really exciting, really fun. Her search party journeys to the underworld to try and locate some things, and her party grows and grows with ancient beings of great power, and you can see right here a warrior princess who has joined them. She's capable of great things, and it's very much a super fun fantasy, not science fiction, but I think it's more fantasy, but it's very fun, very compelling. The only thing, as I told you, the only bummer is that it is only part 1 of what is sure to be 3 or 4 volumes of awesomeness. And they may have even more planned. I don't know. But this series is really worth a read, and I think you would be very happy with Sara and the Royal Stars. Now, the next book I read came out a while ago, and I believe it is It's by Lion Forge. It was first published in France, so it came out in, I don't think, looks like it came out in 2018. And this is the first time I'm reading it, but I read great things about it. And that is Ghost Money, Death in Dubai, the omnibus. It was a 5-part series printed in France. And I'm going to try and sum it up because it's a little complex. It's easy to understand, but it's got a lot of plot points that go through it. There are a lot of different things happening in this book, but it is well worth it. It starts with a young woman who meets a jet-setting other young woman who has oodles of money, whose father is the king of the dictator of another country. They do things like jet set off to Dubai for shopping and jet setting to other places to buy clothes. And there's lots of intrigue. The girl that's really rich, who is the daughter of the dictator, is rumored to be the heiress to the fortune that the Al-Qaeda treasurer made in 2001, going in the stock market and shorting airline stocks and some other things. And her mother died when she was 10 and left her this money, which she is apparently going to find out about when she's 28. How did her mother come upon this money? Did this money really get made by the Al-Qaeda treasurer? Why are these CIA-type mercenaries so interested in it too? It must be a huge fortune. They go so far as to kidnap the girl and implant on her eyes miniature little cameras that let them see what she's seeing, unbeknownst to her. So they could, and there's a group, as I say, a group of ex-CIA mercenaries, a couple of groups of secret spy guys that are after this money too. What are their motivations? What are they interested in? What about the other young girl? What's going on with her? How does she get all wrapped up in this web of intrigue that this young girl, daughter of the dictator, inheritor of the 9/11 dirty fortune, how'd she get wound up in this, and what are her adventures? There are like 7 different adventures in this book, and it is great. It is one of the most fun, most compelling, complex, interesting stories I've read so far this year, and I highly urge you all to pick up Ghost Money, Death in Dubai. There's all kinds of high-tech chicanery going on in this. Loyalties shift from person to person. One thing that stays certain is the friendship between the 2 girls. That always stays the same. The art is great, and I think that you guys would love this. Ghost Money, Death in Dubai. Brilliant book. I really dug it. So that's the first part of Keep Calm and Read Comics. I'll try and put out as much video stuff as I can to give you guys something to watch. There'll be at least 2 more parts to this Keep Calm series. And thank you for watching. If you could all please hit the like button, please subscribe. Feel free to leave a comment. I'm always available to answer comments. I love comments. I love to respond to all your mail. So thank you for watching. This is OmniDog from OmniDog's Vault. Peace and love. Peace and love.